Okay, and welcome. Good evening, everyone. And it's a very special occasion this evening. Where, on Monday, the 8th of March, we had International Women's Day. And so here on Shine this week, we are going to be thinking around what it is to take some stock of the inspirational women in our lives, both from the past and the present. And I am very fortunate this evening to have one woman who's been an inspiration in my life over the years. And that is my wonderful sister-in-law, Deborah. But not only that, Deborah is a development economist, and she is also the Pro-Vice-Chancellor of Education at London South Bank University. So thank you very much, Deborah, for being here with us this evening and for being the inspiration that you are, not only to me, but to many other young people out there over the years. So a very, very big Shine welcome this evening.
Thank you, Karen. It's a pleasure to be here. And if I've ever been an inspiration, I'm really pleased to hear that. And that's what I'd love to be. And isn't it weird when you hear people say positive things about you? I always feel like, oh, is that me? I'd love it to be me. So I'd love to live up to that description.
I love that. And you do. I know you do. So with that in mind, when we're talking about inspiration, so as I mentioned, you've been an inspiration to me over the years. I'd like to kick off right in the middle of it all and ask you, who has been an inspiration to you over the years?
So, I'm going to say that, so I could choose two really different people. And like many people, I guess I could look to my own family and say actually my mother, because she was inspirational in, her unrelenting kindness. She was an incredibly kind person, and she kept that going even when things were really hard for her personally. And that was brilliant. And, this idea of, to shine a light, she always did that. I think people always felt safe and comfortable around her. So she'd be my number one inspiration. But if I was to choose a second person, if I'm allowed to, I've got to say it's those women who are doing such a great job of balancing being a mum, being a wife, and having those, really demanding occupations. So Jacinda Ardern, who's the Prime Minister of New Zealand, she has like a tiny baby she gave birth while she was in office. And I think, wow, that's so impressive. When I had my second child, I remember I once went out of the house and drove somewhere and suddenly realized that I had like one white trainer and one black trainer. So I couldn't even put on shoes then. And she's running a whole country. So that is really impressive.
That's amazing, isn't it? Wow. Yeah, and just to sort of add on that note, I mean, I did know your mum, and she really was such an inspirational woman. She really was. And you see how character traits get sort of passed down there, Deborah, I think. When we're inspired by a woman, how we tend to pick up those traits.
I think it's about giving other people permission, and that, it's okay to care. It's actually something that is valued. And I think if we lived in a society where kindness wasn't valued, that would be a horrible place to live. And I think it's really good if we all create that value in being kind to each other. That's really important.
That's very true. And you've kind of answering my next question, I think, or maybe not. But the next question I wanted to ask you was around what quality do you see in yourself that you would describe probably as your greatest strength?
So actually, I'd say perseverance. And now, my Chinese horoscope, I don't believe in any of this, but every year, Chinese New Year, my Chinese horoscope is the sheep. And actually, in Chinese mythology, it's the sheep or the goat. Okay. And it's kind of the bit that I like from that, and I don't believe it, by the way, I don't believe it for 1 second, but the bit I really like is that what's the emblem or the characteristic of the goat? It's this idea of this lonely goat persevering up, climbing up the side of the mountain. And I kind of know that that's what I'm like. I kind of, everything I start, I finish, I persevere, and I'm kind of really proud of that. So actually, it's the perseverance. I won't give up. I won't give up. I will finish it, come hell or high water, but I will get that thing done.
I love that.
And, yeah. So perseverance, actually perseverance, and I hope I live up to that.
Well, I would definitely say that's that's one of your strong characteristics. I mean, you certainly wouldn't be where you are at the moment if you didn't have perseverance. Because I don't think it's always been easy, has it? A woman in a man's world often. So you need
a woman
perseverance.
in a man's world. Yeah, and like I'm sure everyone on this call having to juggle different things, and just to keep going when there's been lots of other pressures. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So along those lines, what would you say over the years has probably been one of your greatest challenges, and how did you manage to tackle that?
So there's an adage that is, if you can't see it, you can't be it. Okay, so this idea that it's sort of good to have role models. Well, when I was growing up, I felt like there wasn't anyone like me. So Karen, I'm really tall. I'm almost 6 foot tall. I'm mixed race. My mum was Irish. My dad was Pakistani. I've got a stammer. There was, I didn't see other people like me when I was at school, and I always felt like the odd one out. And it was quite difficult. It's quite difficult to be me, and to kind of not be that person that fitted in. And I think that was the sort of most important thing to sort of think I could achieve. And as I've got older, I think what I've realized is actually most people feel like that, like they don't quite fit in. I mean, it's a rare person that doesn't have to work hard to feel like they belong. And I think one of the biggest issues that we all have maybe is that sort of imposter syndrome, sort of feeling we don't quite belong, don't quite earn that thing. And so I think the biggest challenge was just to be me, and just to be me, and to kind of feel that actually that was okay. So I've never really fitted in, but I think probably that's true of most people. So I've never fitted in a work context. I've always been I've always been unusual in that sense. I've always been that person that sort of doesn't quite do the kind of standard thing. I didn't quite follow the sort of standard route. But I think that's a kind of story for most people, actually.
And sort of as you sit here now at this point in your life, do you feel like you've gone further along that road, like you're probably more embracing of yourself now than you were maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago?
Definitely. And I think what I realise now is actually I don't have to fit in. And actually that's the piece of, if I was to look back and to sort of give myself a piece of advice, it's that actually, I don't fit in, and that's okay. It's okay to be me. It's okay to be a bit different and to kind of, plow your own furrow. That's fine. And actually that's what I would sort of, if I look back, it is just to say, it is going to be okay. You can be yourself. And actually everyone brings with them their own qualities, their own characteristics, and we'll all find our own path, our own way through life, and it will be fine.
I love that. And we do have some sort of younger members in Shine. So that's actually wonderful advice. If you can embrace that when you're younger, some of us, it takes 40, 50 years to get to that place.
Yes.
So
it does, doesn't it?
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. What would you say? I mean, you've got many of them, I know, sort of on paper when you look at your accolades, but what would you say personally is your greatest achievement to date?
I think I could say my greatest achievement, honestly, is being able to have that work-life balance. I feel really grateful for that. So I have been successful in my education and in my professional life, and I've been able to do that while having a great family around me and having great friends. And I'm really thankful for all the things that have made that possible. That hasn't been my own work on my own. I've got to thank my family, thank my husband, thank my wonderful kids, thank my friends who put up with me sometimes. I'm not always very present, I'm not always very available, or things can get really busy, and my head can be in work issues, and and they forgive me for that. The house can be a mess, dinner can be not great, and that's fine as far as they're concerned. And so that's the thing that's been most important. I'm really pleased that I've been allowed to have that balance. It's been fun. It's been fabulous. It's been fabulous. And any one bit on its own would have been good, having the work and having the family. But the fact I've been able to have that combination of both and those really good friends, I feel really fortunate. That wouldn't have been possible 20 years ago. It wouldn't have been possible.
That's very true. And can I say that's also, looking from the outside in, that's something that you purposefully worked on? because as I've sort of walked this journey with you over the years, that's something I've definitely noticed, that you do keep that balance, and it's something that you've purposefully worked at. So,
and I think it goes back to, when I was younger, and it was a very lonely time. I was an only child. It was just me and my mum for most of my childhood. And, I think I've really valued other people. I guess I haven't taken them for granted. Look, I hope I haven't. You tell me, Karen.
no.
You tell me. But, I appreciate other people. I really appreciate that. And I know that whatever I've been able to achieve, it's been done because I've had that really great support network. And I guess I've wanted to feel that I give it back, that people feel that they've had that support from me as well, that it's not just all in one direction.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks, Deborah. As you're sort of looking forward, what achievements would you still sort of like to, or what would you like to achieve still? What's still on your horizon at the moment?
So there are still some things I'd like to do in terms of my work life. So I'm really keen to continue to support students who stammer. So as I said right at the start, I'm one of that 1%. Actually, it's between 1 and 3% of the population in any country who stammers, and it's something that people are born with. It's a neurological condition, and that's not something that's well enough understood. There are a lot of public myths about it, and I still hear from young people now. I'm quite involved in various stammering groups, and you still hear from people who really, their lives are blighted because of that, and it shouldn't be like that. And I guess so some of the work I'm doing now is to kind of really inform UK universities about the best way to support students who stammer, and just to make sure that they're not unduly disadvantaged, because I think the world's a better place. I mean, the president of the US, Joe Biden, he's someone who stammers, and that shows you if you you can have an impairment and it doesn't have to be something that stops you achieving in life. And so I guess it's that I'd really like to make sure that if there's one thing I've done by the time I do stop working, it is actually to have made a real difference there.
Yay. That's an exciting journey that you've still got in front of you.
It is.
And if I'd probably asked you this question a year ago, you'd probably have a very different answer. But as we're sitting here now, at the beginning of sort of 2021, what in this current climate makes you most excited to be a woman?
It is. So it's the possibilities of the thing we're doing right now. So it's having meetings on Zoom. I love the fact that new technology means we can be even more flexible in terms of that. So that work-life balance to me has been so important. And by the way, at times so hard to get right, so hard to get right. I think I felt guilty for decades. I was just thinking, I'm not putting enough time into work. I'm not putting enough time into home. And actually, new technology, Zoom calls, Teams calls, it just makes it all a bit more possible. And I think that's really exciting. And actually, I've loved working from home in the last year. I've loved it, and I've loved being just present a bit more often than I would have been otherwise.
Yeah, it's definitely opening up the world as well, isn't it? It's quite amazing. As we sort of rounding off this evening, is there one piece of inspiration that you would perhaps like to leave our ladies with as we wrap up?
So it is, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. I fall foul of this all the time. I push myself quite hard. And then I look back and I think, well, actually, if I was listening to this from a friend, or I was advising a friend, I would say, well, be kind. You've achieved a lot. And I think let's all be kind. Be kind to others, but, be kind to ourselves. I think often as women, we can be so sort of judgmental about ourselves. We want to look a certain way. We want to have achieved certain things. We want our house to be a certain way, and we want, our food, our kitchen. We want, our kids to achieve certain things. And actually, sometimes when you look at some of the pressures we put ourselves under, they're not necessary. We're all doing our best. And if we don't achieve that, it's often for really good reasons. And so it's just be kind. And I need to listen to that and tell myself that too quite a lot. You know, if the house is a mess, we know that's fine. There's good reasons why, you know. Yeah, you have to get a takeaway for dinner. There's probably a really good reason why. So it is be kind.
I love that. Thank you, Deborah. Sitting in Pig's Peak, a takeaway would be really nice. That would be very kind. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing with us this evening.
My pleasure. Actually, it's been such an honour to, you know, get a chance to kind of reflect on these things. So thank you for asking me, Karen.
Okay. Thank you, Deborah, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too.
Thank you.